where it started for me. 1989, when they declared war on drugs, when the Jamaican, Miami, people coming from all over the world, New York, to come here in the crack epidemic. I was a part of it. I used it, tried to sell it, end up with 10 years without the possible road because of it. But what they did was they declared war on drugs was the name of it. And it started in 82, but in 1989 is when they started to really, they declared war on drugs and they declared everything a red zone, right? Where they pat you down or they can stop you or they can frisk you. And they not only did they do that, they would frame you, you know what I mean? It was just whatever the president or whichever the people that was running that task force or put that task force together, they just started to just sweep the streets. And so you got men that's coming home today from that, you know, from back then, you know, so that's where it started for me. And I really believe that right now, the younger generation, I think they're gonna do something similar because of this gun violence, and that's what I'm out there talking to them about now. You know?
They're gonna do something similar because they're gonna continue to perpetuate what is already in place. You said you can take it back to 89. I remember Nancy Reagan coming, I think it was like in 86 with the Say No to Drugs movement.
Yep.
But I'm not even gonna go there. I'm gonna go back to the hate that we have for ourselves. Why all this is taking place today, and that is because W.E.B. Du Bois had a misunderstanding of Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington knew the world he was living in. He knew the country he was living in. This is a white man's country. The white man owned all the cows to produce the money. And because he owned all that, for black people or any type of minority to get a foothold, they had to own property, because without property, you don't have nothing. That's why it's in the Constitution. Yes, we got the right to defend ourselves, we got the right to defend our land, but what if we don't got land? What if we don't got no business? Booker T. Washington, what a lot of people didn't understand was, he said, yeah, you could become a lawyer, you could become a doctor, but where you going to practice these things at? You're going to practice it in the white man's courtroom. You're going to practice it in the white man's own hospital. What he said to the blacks was, right now, trust me, get land, farm, own something, produce what you're going to eat. Produce it. That's why Marcus Garvey understood and wanted to come to America. He came a year too late.
But what did you think that you were going to be when you grew up?
When I was a child.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
When I grew up, what caught my eye is my role model. And my role model was a thug. He was a street guy. Because that was, to me, that's what I perceived to be cool. And as a child, we look up to people who we think are cool. It took some time and it took some growing for me to understand that being cool is not something that we should look upon to make lifetime decisions or future decisions of our life.
What was cool about him, and what did you try to emulate from him?
I thought the respect that was given to him was genuine, not fair, which I later learned it was fair. And it was fair, the type of fair that will, when they have the opportunity to try to pull him down, to try to get him out the streets, or even try to take his life.
And so, how far into following that pattern were you before you realized what it was?
Oh, I was sold. I was sold on a lifestyle. I was sold on the dream of becoming a person who really didn't amount to nothing as it relate to the American dream and society's vision of what a man is. It took for me to get locked, for me to go to prison. And luckily, I just chose the right side of a particular dorm to sleep in. In this dormitory that I lived in for over 15 months. You had the left side and you had the right side. The left side, it had older guys that was waiting for the young guys to come in, and they would tell them, "Shawty, you locked up, don't go for nothing. You gotta push the knife. If you want respect, you gotta earn respect." And on the right side, you had older guys say, "Young brother, you just gave these people the majority of your life. Right now, you have 20, 30, 40 years to do. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna spend that time dwelling in the mistakes you made, or are you gonna start fighting right now to get out? Are you gonna try to become something different from what landed you here?" And
did you heed that advice immediately, or did it take you some time to be able to hear what they were saying?
Funny you say that, and that
Because
goes.
that's a form of mentoring.
And it's funny you say that because it was a gradual change. It was a breaking of patterns that took place in January of 1998 that started me along the way or on my path to becoming the person I am today. And the person I am today is a person who read thousands of books, a person who understands what it is to be a man, what it is to grow, what it is to be mature, what it is to be an example to those who I see myself in every day, and who I see myself in causes me right now to be sickening, because I understand that I too was a part of their lifestyle choices coming up.
Mm-hmm. In what way?
I'm from Southeast Washington, and in Southeast Washington, it's nothing different than being in the jungle. In the jungle, you got different animals. So is the concrete jungles of DC. You have robbers, you have drug dealers, you have stick-up boys, you have bums, you have people on drugs, you have pushovers. I was a hustler, and a lot of people saw me and they wanted to hang with me. They wanted to be with me. They looked up to me. They wanted the things that I had. And I didn't tell them the things that I'm doing, I'm only doing it because it was a hole inside of me. It was a void inside of me that was hurting me, but I didn't know how to express it. But so I expressed myself in ways that destroyed the community. But I did it with a smile, and I tripped up other people from becoming maybe things that they wanted to become before they ran across people like me, people like the other big drug dealers or stick-up boys in their particular neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. So now that you look back on that, and you see what the impact is, you realize that individualism is really, it's a myth, right? Because really, the change that you have had to make in your life came from other people pouring into you.
African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child.
Mm.
And that's something, Vincent, you talk about all the time, is that we didn't have a village, right?
Exactly.
That's one of the things that you initiate the understanding of how you got to this place, is the lack of the village.
Yeah, just like, I did everything he's saying, because the goal of what a change is to bring men like yourself, to speak of your past, speak of your prison life. You not too long come home. I've been out about 15, almost 20 years. So, but it still doesn't change that the youth out there right now didn't have that village. The village that I'm talking about, the village that I keep saying, let me be your village. Let us to be your village. You know what I'm saying? Because they make their own village. When I ask them questions, they say, here go my village. And it'd be all of them, but they 18, 21. So how can they learn? They only learn limited knowledge from each other. So and I know that this is designed in certain ways to do this. You know what I'm saying? But we can build up a village for them by doing what we're doing now. And if we get enough people to join what a change. And also I want to to tell a little bit about this. When you was locked up, we had a conversation. You have written many books and things around this thing here, right? So we'll get into that a little later. But my dream is to put mentors in every sector of DC. A component of mentors where the youth can come and have somebody they can dump their gut. You know what I mean? Because that's very important. That because you like you said a minute ago, it's no father figures. All of them in incarceration. I think you said it, Devin. You know, the men are incarcerated. No men around. You know, so what are they to do?
So there's this there was this story about elephants, about teenage male adolescent elephants, and the elephants there were a group of them that had formed a pack, and they were going around and they were ravaging villages. And what they realized is that this was a new occurrence, primarily because there was a reduction in the adult male elephant population. They had been poached for their tusks, and so there weren't as many male adult elephants around. And in the elephant community, the male adult elephants reared the adolescent elephants. So just like in our own community, without the adult role models and the adult discipline and the adult investment, these adolescent elephants were going rogue, and they were becoming destructive to their environment because they had no guidance.
Well, one thing I will tell you from my experience for the last 6 years or more doing this work, no matter how hard it is, if you help our brothers in the street, hustling or not, get a job, or not just a job, but get a apprenticeship or something like that, he changes. It's something about that self-esteem that changes, you know? And then, what I do is I try to teach entrepreneurship, you know what I'm saying? That you can, and that's, you know, they want that anyway, you know, they put the what was them things, when the white folks put the music, you know, the music, what's that thing they had out here? Good thing this is tape, but
The music.
no, remember they had all these places they go and they was putting the tapes out, and they was speaking on the mic and they was recording, and
Like pop-ups?
no, it was called something else. But you know, they put they was doing the film, I'm doing the tapes and that, and it was $75 to get recorded, and they had everybody thinking that they was going to be a rapper, and so it faded out now, but it went on for like 2-3 years, and you know, a lot of people saying I'm going to the studio, man, that's on the tip of my tongue.
So, well, let me ask this question, Mr. Brian. So you said that when you were younger, your role model was the hustler, right? But was that at a teenage years, or was that all your childhood? Did you ever think about, or did you ever dream about being another occupation?
I believe from the very beginning, I looked up to an individual. I looked up to this individual and I patterned myself behind this individual. That individual was my role model.
So let me ask this question. Do you feel as if, was it because that was the role model that was available to you? Was that the role model that was represented in your community? Were there other people that were not doing that? Meaning, were there other people who had, legit jobs, I'm just going to say it that way, or legitimate careers that were available to you for you to be able to look forward to? Or was that you patterned yourself because that's what was available, that was represented?
I lived in the house with both my parents. Both my parents worked, one in the government and the other one in the private sector. My father was a provider. My father was strong, but my father wasn't cool. My father didn't reach out. My father wasn't sociable. I was sociable, so I guess I took more after my mother. And my cousin, he reached out. I was his little man. He was sociable. I hung with him. He was cool. And that's the problem. Even if people grow up in a house with their parents or with a strong figure, if that strong figure don't take the time out to really be hands-on, and don't just be hands-on in a business type of way, but make it fun. Be cool. You were speaking about how the young guys out here right now, they got themselves their little packs, and they learn from each other from the ranges from ages of 18 to 20. I can go back a little earlier than that. I said they range from the ages of 11 to 20, and they listen to each other because they all have blinders on. They think the next person's cool, and that person think that he's cool, but all the time they misguided. Yeah. So what do we do? What do I do? First of all, I don't wait for anybody else at this point in my life to be an answer to a problem that I know that I can speak loudly and clearly in support of breaking patterns.
Yes.
What I do is, first, I go to individuals, I listen to them, I try to identify with them, and then I will strong arm their minds by speaking first what I know they need to hear, which is my background, my pedigree.
Yes.
I'm from Parchester, grew up Parchester, Bury Farms. That's where I'm from. I stayed back in the first grade. Why did I stay back in the first grade? I stayed back in the first grade because, again, I looked up to a person and I did what that person would do in that situation based on what I perceived of that person. I stayed back in the 8th grade. I got put out of school in the 11th grade. I got expelled. I got put out of school in the 10th grade. I got expelled in the 11th grade. Why? Because I was bamboozled. I had the blinders on, and I was living the life that I thought I wanted. I had money. I had cars. I had dirt bikes, all at the age of 15. But once I lost it all, once I was over Aquan, Lawton prison,
Yes, sir.
for I believe 1 month. It only took 1 month for me to realize that all of that stuff meant nothing. All of that stuff meant nothing. So I try to reach out to the young guys now by first identifying with them, letting them know that I come from the same places as them, and then I let them know, I try to open up their eyes slowly but surely, not telling them what to do, but just telling them what I went through.
Yeah, and one thing about them, they know the truth. They know when you fake it. They know, and they know about what you speaking, because I'm the same way. As soon as I see them, it's something that's inside of us from that behind them bars that can see from the pain. See, it's the pain that we went through, the pain that you went through, and the lack of love that we thought we was missing. And so the lack of love, what we did was we went into the street looking for that love. You say, you had both parents. I didn't have no parents. My father got killed. So I was angry, but I had no dad. And my mother was single parent, 4 kids, and I'm the baby. So I'm looking for some type of identity. So I go out in the street and find that identity, So that's what's gonna make us best to deal with this situation. And from your knowledge and my knowledge, and we get, like you say, we start changing patterns, and we get a team of men, that's men, and go out here and go after this youth, this generation, and we can change it. And people can tell me you can't change it too far. No. I believe that we can do it, so, yeah, but you go ahead.
Only thing consistent in this world is change. That's the only thing that is consistent. And people say that things can't change. They are mistaken. We came here when? In 1619. 1619 as prisoners and as slaves. Those slaves created the United States Capitol. They built the United States Capitol. Those slaves, future generations, created the black population of St. Louis, one of the most thriving communities of all time. You also had Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. These black people, these slaves, these incarcerated people, I say that word purposely, Incarceration is not a downfall. Incarceration is not an end all. Incarceration is a beginning for something to be made new. The caterpillar, he put himself in a cocoon. And in that cocoon, he morphed. Behind those 4 walls, actually it's 3 walls and a door, like that caterpillar, I'll morph. And I'll morph into something more. And I know for a fact, even though you have a whole lot of caterpillars out here in the inner city streets, caterpillars represent something that is ugly, something that is nasty, something that most people step on. Though it's a lot of caterpillars, guess what? I see the potential. I see what they can morph into. And that's why it's my mission to not just wait on somebody else to do what I know that I can do. It's my mission for me to be here right now. It's my mission not to just be a mentee from you, but it's my mission to listen to you, to take in your knowledge, to take in all of the pearls that you have accumulated over the years and put with mine. And guess what? Be the change. Be that morph. Be that, what would you call that? What is that thing that leads the army? The army before the army. The vanguard. We are the vanguard. It's our responsibility to relay the information, and it's gonna be from our lips and from our hearts, our passion, our love, that they're gonna recognize, that they are going to feel, and it's going to propel them to want more, to want better. Because they're going to see more. They're going to envision better. And it all starts with a vision. It all starts with a seed. What is the seed that we are planting? Many years ago, my father planted a seed in my mother. And that seed brought forth what you see today. Right now, these words that I'm speaking, hopefully, will be the seed that is rooted in somebody's hearing, inside of someone's heart. And it will open their eyes in due time, because guess what? I don't care what you bring to a group of people, a village, or a community, it doesn't matter right then and there. Not all the time. A lot of times, guess what? It takes time to grow. Just like when you plant something in the ground, it takes for that seed to first die before it brings forth new life. And that new life represents what? It represents a change. It represents a new direction, a new course that not just he or she, but he or she can lead their families first into, and then the community. We always talk about, I hear a lot of times in prison that people say, when I go to the parole board, I'm gonna let them know that I'm sorry for what I did, and I know that I destroyed the community. Now I want to change the community that I destroyed. Is it true? In a lot of cases, they might even think it's true. But guess what? If that individual are in a place where they are at that time, and they're not looking at the person in the cell next to them, the cell under them, or the cell on top of them, and see something in their character that is not right, something that is amiss, something that is blindly staring them in the face that's saying, warning, something is wrong. And they don't go to that individual. Then what do it mean to me, or what do it mean to other people, or what do they even mean to themselves when they say what they're going to do in the future?
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that in the place of incarceration, minds and hearts are more open during that time, or do you think it occurs after they get out? Because from what I've read, most of the time, there's a severe apprehension before people leave jail, right? Or leave prison, because they're worried about within prison, there is some sort of enlightenment, right? Or reckoning of themselves that happens because you recognize that, oops, to your point earlier, I've lost it all, right? I've broken some things that I didn't have to break. And then when it's time to prepare to be released, do you think that there is more apprehension about that release and the opportunity to change or continue the change or continue the enlightenment after the fact? Or do you think that really it's just you have to strike while they're in prison? Like, do you think the open-mindedness is before or after the release?
Sadly to say, I wrote a story. The story is called Moment of Impact. And the moment of impact, a lot of people would think it's a bomb, a missile. And to be honest, in a way it is. My moment of impact occurred, I believe I was 8 years into my sentence, into my prison sentence. But I'm gonna go back a little bit. In 1999, I was locked up for 3 years. And I was at the table with some older guys. And the older guys was having a little conversation. And I'm listening to them. So one of the guys said to me, he said, BB. I'm like, yes. He said, if you had the opportunity to go home tomorrow, would you go home even, or would you stay in an extra 1 day to be with somebody who you love, like a loved one, a cousin, a brother? So I thought about that question all for about 1 second and said, if I had an opportunity to be around my cousin, I would be not locked up for an extra day. I won't just do an extra day, but I'd do an extra 6 months. And so the guy said, well, can't you do more for your cousin home than you could from in prison? So I said to the guy, I said, well, this particular cousin of mine, he got 28 years to life in Maryland, and he got 70 years to life in D.C. So the chances of me being on the streets with him and actually being with him are slim to none. And I said, so because of that, I would do an extra 6 months in prison just to be around my cousin. Mm-hmm. So the guy said, how long you been locked up? At this time, like I said, I've been in there for 3 years. So the guy said, that's what I thought. He said, let me know. He said, come answer that question in 5 more years. So I said to myself, he must have don't got nobody that he loved like I love my cousin. Mm-hmm. So that was 99. 2000 came, and that scenario, that situation arose in my head, and I said I would still be in for extra 6 months. 2000 came, 2001, 2002, 2003. But then came 2004. And I was inside of my cell, and I was looking at the TV from inside of my cell, sitting in the chair, looking up into the unit at the TV. And while I'm looking at the TV, that conversation came to my head, and I just said, oh, now I get it. The moment of impact where individuals gonna know that, it's time for a change. Change is needed. It's gonna be in different times. I was incarcerated with people who they might have had 1 year or they might have had 100 years, and they was talking like buffoons. Mm-hmm. They might have had 10 years or they might have had 50 years, and they was talking as if their life was already over. Now, for myself, like I said, around 2004, my eyes was open, but even then, I still reverted back a little bit to my old habits. Maybe it was around 2011 when I said to myself, enough is enough. Straddling the fence is not going to get it done. Straddling the fence is not going to get me to the place that I want to be. I got dreams and I got plans for myself today. And those dreams and plans I got for myself is only going to come about if I be honest with myself, if I let these things go. And even though at this time now, I'm going into my 30s, and I say to myself, well, I lost all of my 20s, and I'm going to go to the Pro Bowl and I'm be in my 40s. I thought about a story from Job. I thought about a verse in Job, and it said, Job's later half was better than his first half. Or should I say, the second part of his life was greater than his first part. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I had to hold on to. So I said to myself, BB, for you to be what you say you want to be, you got to be completely transparent. And in prison, a lot of people is not transparent because they don't want to be shown or to be seen as weak. Yeah. So what they do is they put on a face and they try to hide what they feel. But if you want to be effective in your ministry, if you want to be effective in your mentoring, if you want to be effective for us lifting other people out of the murky clay, which is going to drag them down into the pits of the grave or in prison, you have to be transparent. You have to tell the truth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. yes. You got to definitely tell the truth.